up, everybody, and welcome back to the Offbeat Gardener. I'm gardening in zone 7A, and today we're going to do a garden tour of all of the plants that I have in my garden right now. It is currently July 8th. It's been a minute since I've filmed a garden tour, and it's also been a minute since I've shown you what we've been up to around here. So let's get into the tour. It's going to be a lengthy one, just FYI. I'm going to go through all the different varieties and show you what it is that I have growing here right now. So stay tuned for that, and let's get into it. Because I don't have my plants marked, I do have my original garden plan here, which has seen better days. You can tell how dirty and gross it is, but it'll give me a little bit of help in letting you guys know what it is that I have planted here. Right here, this plant is a Berry's Crazy Cherry. It's a multiflora yellow cherry tomato. What that means is that these plants grow their fruit in clusters. So you can see those clusters in there. And we do have a lot of fruiting, which is great. You can see right here what that looks like, what the blossoms look like. So this plant's doing really well. In the same container, I have purple rain tomatoes side by side with all of my heirloom varieties. So we do have over here the purple rain tomato. It's looking pretty good. We do have some fruit set on there. It's extremely hot and humid nowadays. You know, the tomato plants are dropping their blossoms and struggling a little bit. We do have a little bit of disease going on here, but we're doing the best we can, and that's all you can hope for. So over here, I have another purple rain. Like I said, on the left side of all of these bags are purple rain tomatoes, with the exception of a couple of my cherry tomato plants, but I'll show you that in a minute. I had candy cherry tomatoes planted here, but it died and it just nothing ever happened with it. So I reseeded it. I started a couple more plants and I just transplanted them in here yesterday. So these are gonna take a little bit to take off, but there's plenty of time in the growing season for them to flourish and produce. Here was supposed to be a chocolate stripe tomato. Unfortunately, all of mine died, so all of the ones that I started died. So instead I planted a Thorburns terracotta in its place. It's looking good. We have some fruit set in there. Excellent, excellent. Next door to that is a black Seaman tomato. Again, you can see there's some fruit set. Unfortunately, I am dealing with a bit of disease. Hopefully you can see that. My purple rain tomatoes, I don't know what it is. There's something funky going on with them, and I don't know if it's the weather or if it's the fact that I have this variety in here now. I'm having some trouble with disease, but it is what it is. We're going to try to mitigate that as much as we possibly can. Then next door to that, right here, you can see this plant is struggling a lot. It's in pretty rough shape right now. It looks good on the top, no problem there, but it's looking a little funky. And this one right here is a Blue Beauty tomato. So that's what we have here. Again, to the left of every bag is a purple rain tomato. Next door to that, we have two Paul Robesons. So in this bag here, there's a Paul Robeson growing. You can see that there. There's also one right here that's growing. They're pretty tall, large and in charge. Over here, we have a Pilcervesi tomato. I grew this last year. This is one of my mystery tomatoes last year, and it is absolutely delicious. If you've never grown it before, I highly suggest. Then we have a classic beefsteak tomato. These tomatoes are struggling a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on here. I think because of the heat, all of their blossoms are falling off. You can see right here, it crept through the trellis and now it's growing on the other side. I mean, it is what it is. I'm just letting my plants grow wild this year. Next door to that, we have a rose tomato that has yet to set any fruit. So I don't know what that's about, but it is what it is. Now let's go on the other side of the trellis and I'll show you what we have going on. But here's a kind of an overlook of this side of the tomato trellis. All right, now we're on the other side of the trellis. Again, for the most part, I do have the purple rain tomatoes growing on the left side of all of my bags. This plant right here, that is a Blueberry's cherry tomato. You can see there's a lot of fruit set going on here. These plants do really well, and they're also super delicious. So if you're looking for a good cherry tomato variety, highly suggest blueberries. I harvested my first red one yesterday, and you can see there's another one there that's starting to get ripe. They have anthocyanins in them, which is why they have that purple coloring. So wherever the sun hits them is where they turn purple, and the tomato itself is red. Next door to that, we have another purple rain. This one is in a bag was in a bag by itself up until yesterday. So you can see that it's pretty bushy compared to its counterparts. And right there, that little itty bitty guy is a sun gold tomato. Now, this disaster over here. I feel like this is the tomato plant that started all the trouble for all the other tomato plants, and you can see this one is in bad shape. I mean, half of it looks terrible. This is a purple rain, and this part over here looks perfectly healthy and fine. So I need to chop all this off so that, you know, more disease doesn't spread. And worst case scenario, if I have to rip the whole plant out, then it is what it is. It's fine. Next to that, I had a Berkeley pink tie-dye, but you can see this plant is looking terrible. It's extremely short. It's not looking too great. The fruit set that we have here is extremely stunted, and I mean, I'm leaving it here for the moment, but I think I'm gonna have to rip this plant out too because it's just not doing well. Next door to that, we have yet another purple rain, and we have some green zebra tomatoes, which I absolutely love. If you've never grown them before, they're delicious. They're like a green color and with some yellow in it. It's a beautiful tomato and a very delicious one at that. Then we have two Dr. Weisches. This one is a Dr. Weisches, and its next door neighbor over there is a Dr. Weisches. I'm trying to maneuver through all this. So those are looking pretty good. I only have one tomato that I've spotted so far that has blossom end rot, so I'm very happy about that, that it's not like a widespread issue. Next door to that, I have a Kellogg's Breakfast, which is starting to set some blossoms, so that's good. No tomatoes just yet, but we're crossing our fingers. Then over here we have another Thorburns yellow, because this is where I originally had planned to put my Thorburns. I put them side by side, so this one is the Thorburns yellow, this one is the Thorburns terracotta, and I just wanted to see what they look like side by side. Because I had some trouble with the chocolate stripes and the black cement tomatoes, I decided to transplant some extra plants, and the ones that I chose were the Thorburns yellow and terracotta, so that's why they're over there on the other side. So I have double of these. Last but not least, over here we have a persimmon tomato. It's looking really healthy and good. Still no fruit set. It is what it is. We're waiting patiently. Just as a heads up, the purple rain tomato is a determinate, but you can see this one's pretty tall. So I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for any of this, but this is a pretty tall plant. I would say it's at least 4 feet tall. Still no fruit, while the others have fruit. They were all started and transplanted out at the same time. So I don't know what's going on with that, but here we are. So again, we're just patiently waiting. Here's a view of this side of the trellis. And now let's show you the peppers. Before I do that, I just wanted to show you real quick. If you're unfamiliar with determinate tomatoes grow to a certain height and they produce all of their certain amount of fruit that they're getting ready to set all at the same time for the most part. Their life cycle is a lot shorter than an indeterminate tomato, which just keeps going and going and going until either disease or frost hits it. And because I know that these determinate purple rain tomatoes are eventually going to come out, I did start a second round, except these are not purple rain. I ran out of seeds for that, and given the fact that they're looking really sickly, I'm glad I don't have any more seeds. We'll revisit purple rain in the future perhaps. What I have over here is a tray of Grand Marshal determinate tomatoes. I've heard really good things about them. I've never grown them before, so we're crossing our fingers for those too. But all of these plants are going to replace all of the purple rain tomatoes once those are done. All right guys, now we're at the pepper portion of this video. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't grow a lot of plants in a small area, because it's very, very possible. And jalapenos in general don't mind sharing a space, whereas tomatoes do better on their own. But you know, I'm trying to keep up with the fertilization over here and adequate watering, which is why I installed the drip irrigation, which is a lifesaver. If you're interested in how to do that, I will link a video up here and in the description box below so you can see how I put mine together. We got a lot of peppers to go through. You can see it's like a jungle here. First and foremost, in this bag right here and in this bag right here, we have pumpkin spice jalapeno plants. There's 3 plants in each bag, and you can see that they're fruiting. They're doing pretty good. The pumpkin spice jalapenos have like a deep orangey color. Beautiful, very sweet, very delicious. If you've never grown them before, I highly suggest. Then next door to that, these 2 plants right here are orange spice jalapenos. Again, kind of the same thing, but a slightly different shade of orange. There's a lot of fruit set in there. Hopefully you can see that. They're looking really, really great. And then these 2 plants right here, these are lemon spice jalapenos. Again, you can see the fruit set. We're doing fabulous. And these ripen to a bright yellow color. They're absolutely delicious, super fruity and not too spicy as like your traditional jalapeno. If you've never grown any of these varieties before, I highly suggest. They're so, so good, and they make a beautiful pickled jalapeno, like if you wanted to make a gift or it's just something nice for yourself, if you take all of these jalapeno varieties and get them when they're ripe and they've changed color and put them in a jar and can them as pickled jalapenos, it's not only delicious, but it's beautiful. All right, so we're making our way this way. Like I said, this one here is a pumpkin spice. The rest of these 4 bags, those are all Tam jalapenos, so the Texas A&M jalapenos, which ripen to a red color. And we do have lots of blossoms. We do have a lot of fruit set. And since I'm in here, I'm going to show you a couple other plants. These are ancho poblanos. So I have one plant here. You can see we've got a little bit of fruit set there. There's a bigger one back there. So this plant is, I would say, about 5 feet tall right now. It's doing pretty good. And I have another one right here, and there's 2 plants in each of these grow bags. And now we have bell peppers. So for the most part, all of these are bell peppers right here. And they're all different types of bell peppers, and I have 3 plants in each bag. The first one we have here is a collage pepper, or between the lines. You can see they look kind of like jalapenos right now, but they're actually bell peppers, and they're supposed to get really colorful and stripy. They do have purple blossoms, if you can see that in there. I'm really excited about this. I've never actually grown bell peppers before. I've grown other types of peppers, but never bell peppers. So this is a new adventure for me. Next door to that, we have the Ozark bell. Again, you can see we have some fruit set there. And then next door to that, we have the Canary bell, which is a yellow bell pepper. The Ozark is a red, by the way. Next door to that, over here, we have King of the North bell pepper. This is a red bell pepper. So we got some growth going on in there. And then last but not least, kind of squished in here, it's looking pretty tall. I mean, look at the height of this compared to these. They're all bell peppers, mind you. Here we have the orange bell. So these are orange bell peppers, and they are setting some fruit. You can see we got a couple little babies in there. They're looking really fabulous. Again, the one right here next to it is the ancho poblano. Next door to that, we have ground cherries. I've already harvested a couple from here. Next door to that, we have 2 bags of shishito peppers. So these 2 right here are shishito peppers. You can see we already have fruit set. I need to come harvest these because some of them are getting pretty large and in charge. Next door to that, over here, these peppers right here, they're kind of all intermingled just because. But you can see how big these peppers are. It's a pretty decent sized pepper. Those are guajillo peppers. And the reason I grew guajillo and morita peppers, which you'll see in a minute, is because I want to dry them and use them to make like birria tacos and like use them as like something to add a little punch and a little flavor to food. So that's why I'm growing these. I will try them just in their natural state just because I'm curious how they taste. My whole purpose for growing those is to dry them so that I can use them for recipes. Over here, these 2 plants right here are habaneras. They're basically habaneros without the heat. They're looking really good. We are starting to get some blossoms on there, so these take a little bit of time. So if you've never grown habaneras before, just be aware that they take a little bit longer to get going than other pepper varieties. Then over here are the morita peppers. They look a little bit like jalapenos right now, but they're not jalapenos. These are morita peppers. Again, same thing like the guajillo. My purpose for these is to dehydrate them. Next door to that, so just a heads up, I am 5 feet 8 inches tall. So I come up to probably right around here. And you can see these plants are significantly taller than that. They're well over 6 feet. I would even say more than that. I mean, look at that. That's crazy. These 2 grow bags here are tomatillos. So tomatillos need to have a partner. They need to have a buddy in order for them to fruit properly, for them to pollinate and whatnot. And speaking of pollinating, we have a little friend over there. Where'd he go? We have a little friend helping us out to pollinate these tomatillos, and I saw another one in here, another bee. Not sure where it went, but these tomatillos are huge and full of blossoms. I mean, look at that. There's like a million blossoms here, and blossoms are starting to change into actual fruit. So I'm so excited about that. But just like I said, a heads up, if you're going to grow tomatillas, you need to grow 2 plants. That's just how it is for pollination purposes. Then next door over here, we have some Tabasco pepper plants. And again, Tabascos, I had this experience last year where they took a really, really long time to grow. And all of these, like I said, all these plants have been started on the same day, transplanted out on the same day. And you can see some are way ahead of others. It's not because of anything, it's just some plants are different than others. But you can see here we do have some flowering, and hopefully we're going to get some fruit set pretty soon. But my plan for these is to turn them into hot sauce. So if you have any great Tabasco pepper hot sauce recipes, please leave them in the comments down below. I'd be very, very grateful to have whatever tried and true recipes that you have under my belt. So leave a comment down below. Guys, it's like next level humid outside today and I'm sweating like I've never sweated before, and and the mosquitoes are brutal too, but we're gonna get through this. So here I have 3 bags of cucumbers. I planted a bunch of cucumbers. You can see there's only 2 over here. These are Boston pickling cucumbers. I had a whole bunch in here too. I had silver slicers in here, and you can see what happened to them. They were just one by one getting attacked and eaten. So I just put a whole bunch more seeds. You can see them starting to pop up like right here and right over there. You can see some new ones popping up. So I just put a whole bunch in here because I want cucumbers, and I'm tired of these critters out here getting to them before I get a chance to and not letting them thrive. So there are more Boston pickling cucumbers in here. I'm hoping that the 2 that I planted are gonna do a little something because they're really struggling. And in here I put a couple more Boston pickling cucumber seeds, but I also put salt and pepper cucumber seeds. So I'm hoping that's gonna be delicious, but this plant's doing pretty good. It's climbing up on its own. So in this bed I have some pink celery that I let go to seed because I want to collect all the seeds. I also have a bunch of leeks in here, which the squirrels got to, and there's not too many of them left, but you know, they're making their way. I also, for the first time, have volunteer ground cherries. This one and this one. And you can see this little guy is already setting a little blossom, so we're gonna have ground cherries there pretty soon. Volunteer plants are basically plants that seeded themselves. You did not physically put a seed in the ground or a plant. Just a seed fell out of nowhere, landed in your soil, and is growing on its own. So that's what those are, but I wanted to show you that. I also have more leeks in here. These pesky squirrels, I love them, but I mean, I really want my leeks too. So here we are with the leeks. I don't know what's gonna happen with these. My green stalk that had all of my lettuce and kale and everything, you can see it looks terrible. I need to clean this up, amend the soil and replant. It's looking rough. The strawberries are kind of done for now. Over here in this kiddie pool, I have kale that I just let go. There's also some leeks in here, so it's kind of like a combination area. Got a little bit of pest damage, but otherwise these are looking pretty good. Next to it here, by the way, this is what I'm talking about with the squirrels, how they dig, like, can you see that? They just come in here into any soil that they can get their hands on and just start digging holes. But all over here we have ginger and turmeric. So if you saw any of my Azure hauls, which I can link those up here and down in the description box, you'll know that I bought some turmeric and ginger from Azure and I planted it. And here's where we're at. I mean, they're starting to come up, so that's good. I need to cut this leaf so that these can have some more sunlight. You can see that this one's growing a little crooked because it needs the light, but they're coming up and I'm very excited about that. Over here we have a bunch of berry plants that are brand new to me, and some of them are doing better than others. These 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 are from Stark Brothers, and I gotta say I'm very pleased. So far so good with their plants. This blackberry plant here is looking a little rough. By the way, I made this mistake by accident. I knew that berries some of them have thorns and some varieties are thornless. However, I wasn't thinking at the time when I purchased these, and I got the ones with thorns. So just be wary of that if you're gonna buy from anywhere for that matter. I'm not affiliated with Stark Brothers. I just like their stuff. Next door to that we have blueberries. Then we have another variety of blueberry here and a couple of weeds I need to pick out. These are pink lemonade blueberries. Then over here, you can tell I got some good soil because I got some mushrooms growing in there. And we have raspberries here. They've only been in the ground for, I'd say, 2 months at best. They were basically bare root plants. These 3 buckets over here had currants that we bought from Home Depot. Only one of them, this one right here, is doing all right. The other 2, I don't know what happened to them. They're doing a whole bunch of to nothing. So that's pretty much the overview of my garden right now as of July 8th. And you can see that I've done a little changes. I did put an irrigation system, like I said. I also put down this fabric to suppress the weeds, because to mow in between all of this stuff is just, since it's not in ground and they're in grow bags, it's so annoying and impossible to mow in between. So I decided to put some cloth underneath, which I have not stapled down, so that's why it's looking a little crazy. That's a project for another day. I'm not stressing about it. But here's my garden. It's looking really great. I still have some more work to do. You can see I have a couple buckets here. I have 2 green stalks that I have yet to put together. So there's still a lot to do, but there's still plenty of time to get everything done. And I just wanted to show you where we are at as of July 8th. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'd be happy to hear from you. And let me know how your garden's doing. Where have you started harvesting yet? Are you just putting out some plants right now? How are your gardens doing? I'd love to hear from you. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!